Are you afraid that when you communicate, you'll be taken inappropriately and incorrectly and misappreciated? And so what you do is you don't communicate. Now here's the funny irony about that. It's virtually a certainty that they will misappreciate you. It's virtually a certainty that you won't be taken correctly, that they will take you wrongly. And the reason why that is because words intrinsically have no meaning. But the tragedy about that is that you don't communicate because of the fact of your fear of not communicating in the first place. Oh, they're just gonna misappreciate me, or I'm gonna be taken wrongly, or they might take it badly, so I'm not gonna communicate about it. And that's a tragedy because communication is the beginning of understanding. And I'll go more into that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you 3 tips so that you can communicate better in a way that can be appreciated more by your counterpart, by the other person, as well as you can manage. It's not going to be perfect. And the thing here is that you cannot take what I say and repeat it with other people verbatim. You can take something like what I say, because for you to be able to be communicating and be taken as genuine, you have to communicate in a way that's you. Otherwise, if it's not you, if the words that I say is not you, you're going to be taken as disingenuous. Until the words that I say is you, then you can say those exact same words. That's okay. I don't have a copyright on the things that I say. But if you say exactly in the way that I say it, in the way that I communicate, and it's not you, you're going to be misappreciated and taken as disingenuous, and that's not a good thing. So I'm going to give you 3 tips so that you can communicate better in a way that can be appreciated better by other people as well as you can manage. Now, remember in the beginning I said that words intrinsically have no meaning, and that's the reason why it's virtually a certainty that you're going to be misappreciated and taken wrongly and taken incorrectly. So get rid of the fear that you're going to be mistaken. Get rid of the fear that they're not going to understand you. They're not going to understand you. And the reason why is because words intrinsically, in and of themselves, have no meaning. Intrinsically means in and of itself. Intrinsically, words have no meaning, and for words to have the same meaning that you and I put it into words, we have to experience that experience in the same way, at the same time, in the same way that we perceive things. And you got it, right? No one has those things. No one experiences things in the same way, at the same time, in the same manner, and perceive it the same way. So in other words, what if I were to ask you, what do you think what love is? What do you think what honor is? What do you think what integrity is? I want you to realize that there are about hundreds of people watching this video who watch the same video and watched those same questions and answered those same questions in their minds and defined it completely and often radically different from how you would define it. And if you were to hear their answers to those questions, you'd be flabbergasted at those definitions. That's not what love is. That's not what honor is. That's not what integrity is. That's not what success is. Because people put different definitions even in the most banal of words. Even in the most commonly accepted definitions of words, because words intrinsically have no meaning. So it's virtually a certainty you're going to be misappreciated, misunderstood, and taken wrongly. But communication is the beginning of understanding. So what are the 3 tips? Number 1 tip is that make a preamble, preface your communication, the preamble to the primary amble. Preface what you're going to say with stating the current state of either your state or the status of the consequence or the state of the situation that you're in right now. For example, you have a friend you would like to ask out. Do the preamble. Preface your communication. Preface your primary message, your primary communication with them. It might go a little bit something like this. Hey Jenny, or hey John. Hey, I know we've been friends for a very, very long time, and I would not change that for anything. I really respect and admire you, and I think you're incredible as a friend, and I love you as a friend. And the funny thing is, and the interesting thing is that the fantastic arrangement that we find ourselves in, that I find myself in, is that I'm a boy and you're a girl. And that's a wonderful thing. And because of that, I have particular things that I like particularly about you, Jenny. And I just want to say that I find you incredibly yummy. And while I would never, ever, ever fuck you over or never change what we have as a friendship for anything, I would never, I would, I would never fuck you over, but I would gladly fuck you over and over. And it's a funny way of communicating with them that you will never fuck them over. And hey, Jenny, there's no hurry in answering that or no requirement for your answer even. I just wanted to communicate with you and put that on the table and be forthright with you. And it is something that you don't need to be answering right now. And it's genuinely, and I'm genuine about you're not having to change anything about our friendship. It's the most important thing to me. And the most tragic thing is the friendship changes once this is communicated. And I genuinely mean this. If you find somebody, it's not, sexual exclusivity is not something I'm looking for. If you find somebody you like, let me know. I can help you get to know them. Or you find somebody you want to go to bed with, let me know. I can help you. I'm genuine when I say that I don't want to change anything about our friendship. Let me give you a different example. Let's say, hey baby, I really want to know exactly where you are at any moment, at any time. Now, cut. That sounds crazy to some people, but let me show you how you can preface it. Now, my primary concern is not to stalk you, not to know exactly where you are or who you're talking to. That doesn't matter to me. I love that you're talking to people. My primary concern is your safety and your happiness and satisfaction that you're living the biggest life you can. And so what I want is your safety. And I watch a lot of true crimes. I've been watching a lot of true crimes lately, and it's really scary when you're talking to people you really don't know. And it's scary that my concern is that you could be in some place where I don't know, something's gone on that's bad, and I don't know where you are. So just do your best to communicate with me where you are. And so I know where you are. And if anything happens, I know where to find you and I know who to contact and I know how I can help you. These are prefaces to the main communication. I want to end it at that. We'll talk more about that in other videos. The second tip I want to give you is communicate in their language. By language, I don't mean Japanese or English, but in the same sense, words have no meaning. In the same sense, if you go to Japan and the person whom you're communicating with doesn't speak a lick of English, if you communicate English with them, those words have no meaning to them. So are you going to communicate with them in English, or you do your best to communicate with them in Japanese? If you're the one who's trying to establish communication, you're going to communicate with them in Japanese the best you can. Perhaps get a Google translator and communicate with them. And so communicating in their language, moms are really good at this. They communicate with their children in the words that the children understand. They communicate with babies in words that babies understand, because they understand that words, you have to communicate with them in words that they understand and appreciate. And so when you communicate with people, do your best to communicate with them in words and ways that they understand and they can appreciate. The tragedy with a lot of people who are communicating with other people is when they're trying to communicate is that they're communicating so they can hear themselves talk, or they don't put into mind that they're communicating to communicate, meaning to commune with other people, to establish communication, to establish understanding with other people. And the third tip that I want for you, so you can communicate better in a way that is better appreciated by other people, is that rather than communicating so that you can hear yourself talk or hear them talk, there's some place which is good for that, and that's great. But when you're communicating, your primary intention should be understanding. The beginning of communication is you're communicating not because they're going to understand you. They're going to mistake what you're saying. You're going to be misappreciated. That's wonderful, because that's the beginning of communication. And then from that point, you get to understanding. And one way to do that is ask them to repeat back to you what you're communicated in a way, in their words, in their understanding of what you've just said. And one way to do that is this powerful word. Are you ready for this? The powerful question you ask them is, what do you think? And that's how you get their understanding about what you just said, and then you can come closer and closer to communicating in the same language. Hope that helps. Share this video with other people because you're making the world a better place for all of us. Talk to you next.